Coming up on Inside the Summit League, Denver looking to do some damage this weekend in the NCAA tournament in men's soccer. Denver men's basketball making some changes on the court under former player and new head coach Rodney Billups. A story on last year's Summit League Freshman of the Year and how his mom taught him how to play the game. And the race for the regular season title in volleyball comes down to the final day of the regular season. Hello, welcome to the show. Lots coming up in volleyball and basketball, but first it has been another season to remember for the Denver men's soccer team, and the Pioneers are not done yet. Denver will be the number 6 overall seed in the national tournament that starts on Thursday. The Pioneers have earned a bye, and they will host the winner of the first round match between San Diego State and UNLV. That second round match will be Sunday for Denver at 5 o'clock Mountain Time on their home field in Denver. If the Pioneers win that one, they will host the round of 16 on November 26th and 27th. Denver is 17-0-3 on the season after coming back in the final minutes to beat Omaha in the Summit League Tournament Championship. Summit League Men's Championship on Saturday, Denver and Omaha. And they played to a scoreless draw 2 weeks ago in the regular season. This match goes scoreless through the first half, although Denver with chances in the first 45 minutes. Not a lot on this shot, but a save by Omaha keeper Joseph Gittes. And Denver with 4 shots on goal in the first half. Gittes has to do some work. Reagan Dunk flying in, and that is off Gittes and then off the post, and it stays scoreless. And then Kenny Akamatsu from straight away. Gittes again able to get just enough of it. So no score until second half, 58th minute. And Omaha on a free kick. Fazlo Ali Hajic sends it in. Jacob Weiler with just a touch on it. And the Mavericks take the lead 1-0. Denver behind in a match for one of the few times all season. But Denver with the equalizer in the 75th minute. Off a corner kick. And doesn't look like much going on, but Blake Elder with the header that turns out to be an assist. Andre Shinyashiki with the goal to tie it up 1-1. So tied up into the last minute of regulation play. And a simple cross from Sam Hamilton and Shinyashiki again. The sophomore striker from Brazil, his second goal of the match, both coming in the final 15 minutes. Shinyashiki is the championship MVP. Denver wins the Summer League tournament title for the 4th year in a row. And the Pioneers will play host this weekend in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. Well, there is another championship going on in Denver this weekend, the Summit League Volleyball Tournament. Denver is the number 1 seed there thanks to a victory on the final day of the regular season.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn.
Welcome back. Now to volleyball. All season long, South Dakota and Denver have been duking it out at the top of the Summit League standings, and they end up tied after 16 Summit League matches. Here's how it all shook out in the final week of the regular season. Friday night in Vermillion, South Dakota hosting Denver. And Denver 1 game ahead in the Summit League standings, so a chance to close the door. But Audrey Rieg hammering away for South Dakota. 69 total attacks and 24 kills in the match for Rieg. And they go almost 2.5 hours. South Dakota wins the first and third sets. Denver wins the second and the fourth. South Dakota gets out to an 8-1 lead in the 5th set and then has to hang on to win the 5th set 15-13. So South Dakota over Denver in 5. And after this one, they are both 12-3 in the league. They have both beaten each other on their home floor. So tied up, nothing decided yet. So back in Vermillion on Saturday night, South Dakota hosting South Dakota State. And a little quicker victory for the Coyotes. Elizabeth Lotion with 14 kills. And 10 more for Audrey Rieg. USD wins in 3, so South Dakota finishes the league season 13-3. and earns at least a share of the regular season championship. And that would be depending on what Denver does in Fargo on Sunday. North Dakota State wins the first set. Denver comes back, takes the second and the third, and then the Bison rally to win the fourth. So they go to 5. The Pioneers pull it out in the 5th. Kayla Principato leads the way with 21 kills. Denver wins 3-2 in this one. They tie South Dakota at the top and share co-champion honors with the Coyotes in the regular season. Denver will get the top seed in the league tournament, though. Denver wins the tiebreak because they beat third-place North Dakota State twice during the season. South Dakota did not. So Denver and USD, though, with byes in the first round. Fort Wayne and Oral Roberts playing the first quarterfinal match on Thursday. North Dakota State and IUPUI after that one. Semis on Saturday, final on Sunday, and all matches from the Summer League Volleyball Tournament will be streamed live on the Summer League website at thesummitleague.org. Well, South Dakota doesn't sweep the Player of the Year honors, but they earn most of them. Senior Audrey Rieg is the Player of the Year, second in the league in kills and in kills per set, and she leads the Yotes to that share of the Summer League title. North Dakota State junior Michaela Purnell is the Defensive Player of the Year, led the league in digs per set by a fairly wide margin this year. Brittany Jessen of South Dakota repeats as the Setter of the Year, the only player in the league to average more than 10 assists per set this season. The Freshman of the Year, also from South Dakota, that is Elizabeth Lotion. And the Coach of the Year, Lee Ann Williamson of South Dakota, takes the Coyotes from 5th in the league last year to 1st this year, and South Dakota with 24 wins right now heading into the Summit League tournament this weekend. Basketball coming up next, and Mama's boy, not usually a compliment, but Mike Daum will take it because his mom was a really good player and she taught him how to play the game. Now to basketball and the story of Mike Daum and his mom. She is more than just his biggest cheerleader right now. She is the one that taught him how to play the game of basketball. Here's David Brown with that story.
Kimball, Nebraska lies on the far western edge of the state. Mainly a farming community, it's known as the high point of Nebraska. But one of its homegrown athletes is challenging that moniker. Mike Daum is already a high point at 6'9", but he started from the ground up.
From the time that he was a little boy, we were always active. I always had different games going on, different challenges. We challenged each other with everything we did. The kids used to race each other to the car to see who could get to the car first.
Everything I did was competitive between that and just, going to bed first. Things just like the most random games I'd make out of everything.
But one game in particular appealed to Mike the most. It's the one his mom played at the University of Wyoming and was more than happy to teach her son.
My claim to fame with Mike is his shot. I taught him how to shoot. When he was little, we used to literally lay on the floor teaching him the flick. And it's all wrist, it's not your elbow, it's all wrist, and it's getting backspin on the ball. And the more backspin you can get, the softer that ball's gonna be around the rim.
We had this game where we laid on the bed and you had to flick it to your partner, flip over each other, and then she'd do the same, flick it and flip over, and then we just kept going back and forth, and we had so many fun shooting games we just did in the house.
Teaching is one thing, but competition is a whole nother ball game. You see, Michelle Daum, then Michelle Hoppus, wasn't just some player at Wyoming. She left the school as their all-time leading scorer and rebounder.
It was when we were playing one-on-one and she was just beating the crap out of me.
I'd take it to him every time. Absolutely, absolutely.
I would get heated, kick the ball when I was done, because I was like, first off, it's letting a girl beat me. Second off is my mom. And I'm just like, well, one day I'm gonna beat her, and then we'll see who's the top dog in the house.
As Mike grew, so did his love for basketball. And Michelle became more than just a teacher and one-on-one partner. She became the head coach of Mike's youth team when he was in 3rd grade.
For some reason, that group of boys always accepted me, even though I was a woman. I think it was because I was really mean. I was harder on Mike than any of the other boys. I was hard on the boys. They were a really tough group.
I think she knew she could be tough on me though, but it's nice because she knows what it takes to get to the next level.
In addition to coaching, Michelle put Mike through individual drills practically every day in the Kimball High School gym. But it wasn't until Mike was 12 years old that Michelle saw something bigger in his future.
I will never forget working out with him, and he was on fire. I think he probably hit 60 shots in a row. I remember crying. I just stopped him and said, you have no idea what you could do. I honestly feel at this moment in time, you could carry on your career and play Division I basketball.
Michelle's formal coaching stopped when Mike entered high school, but her presence in his basketball life only grew. She would drive him more than 100 miles each way to his AAU team in Fort Collins, Colorado, and the individual sessions would continue throughout the year, whether Mike was playing AAU or for Kimball High.
You have to keep working at it. You can't ever rest on your laurels, because I said there's always going to be somebody out there that's better.
We would go and work out almost every single night, just us two. And she always had new drills that she was getting like from my AAU coach or that she'd create herself. And she was always pushing me in different ways I didn't think I could be pushed.
By his senior year, Mike had more than 10 Division I offers, including one from his mom and dad's alma mater.
I always believed he needed to set his own path. It didn't matter that both Mitch and I had gone there. I really firmly believe that he needed to make those decisions on his own, and that was part of his growing up.
I never actually took a trip to Wyoming, and when I came up here, the players here were great, the coaches were phenomenal. It was just a better atmosphere for me here.
After redshirting his true freshman season, Mike finally got a chance to hit the court at SDSU in the fall of 2015, where he led the Jacks in scoring and rebounding while starting only 2 of 34 games.
I was trying to do whatever Coach Nagy said. I was trying to keep a level head through the whole thing, and I was really taking criticism from seniors, and I just wanted to feel out how everyone was going to be, and I was just trying to play as hard as I can, make the most of my minutes when I got in there, and it worked out for me.
After leading the Jacks to another NCAA tournament berth, the future for Mike looked brighter than ever, until Scott Nagy, the man who led him to SDSU, was led somewhere else.
It was really difficult because it's like the coach that brought you to this school, made you love this school, been with through a year, and it was kind of a blind side.
I think there was a moment where you feel kind of betrayed, by that. But at the same point, we are a pretty glass half full type of family, and you take it and you go, there's a reason. There's got to be a reason for it.
Rumors not only swirled about who SDSU's next head coach would be, but if Mike would even be around to see him. But when the Jacks hired former Iowa State assistant TJ Otzelberger, the decision on whether to stay or transfer was clear.
I knew that the moment we brought him in and he talked with us, I was like, if this guy's our head coach, then we're going to be just fine.
I think it's a blessing in disguise. I think it's going to be a really good fit for Mike and the entire team.
I have such a great team chemistry here, and the fans are so great here, and we have such a camaraderie in this community that I just felt like there was no way I could leave.
Now in his sophomore season, the question is, how can Mike follow up such a remarkable start to his career? The answer goes all the way back to the 7th grade, when Mike finally conquered his basketball hero.
We were playing in the high school gym, and I was just like, all right, let's just play one-on-one. Like, we haven't played in a while, so we played one-on-one. I finally beat her, and I was like, yes. I was so excited, and I think she was really upset. Like, she was actually mad.
But then I told him that you're going to keep growing, you're going to keep getting better, and when you can beat me, legit, it's going to mean that much more to you. So no, I'm not going to just let you win.
I'm never the best. Like, I'm never going to be on top. Like, for me, I'm always at the bottom. I always have stuff to work on. So I think that just keeps driving and motivating me to just keep getting better every day.
Well, Daum and the Rabbits have one of the new men's head coaches in the league this year. The other is in Denver. And how things are going to be a little different in Denver this year under Rodney Billups. That story coming up next. Back to basketball, and might be a whole new ball game in Denver this year, maybe not, where former Pioneer player Rodney Billups takes over this season as the head coach. Here is Shane Carney on what is changing and what is staying the same.
By now, every Denver fan knows the 2016-17 season for the men's basketball team marks the first in the coach Rodney Billups era. The question that remains is what the team will look like under the Pioneer basketball alums' guidance. From top to bottom of the roster, each team member will answer saying they are built upon 2 values: focus and effort.
That's the cost of attendance, right? As soon as you step foot on that floor, I expect that. That's the standard. And it's hard some days coaching that and trying to coach effort versus coaching philosophies and techniques and plays. And that's a challenge that we have is always having to coach effort and always expecting them to play hard even when they're tired or banged up.
I'm getting used to playing fast, playing man-to-man defense, pushing the ball up and down the floor quick. I think we're all just really excited for our first game and to get after some other competition and to play in Magnus again.
Coach Billups wanted those two ideas to be drilled into his players' heads from day one. He even went as far as putting the whole team through a training session with a retired staff sergeant of the U.S. Army. Safe to say they quickly learned the new demands of being part of the Denver men's basketball squad.
What it helps with is developing leaders through shared adversity. You know, the experience that I've had with the program has been phenomenal results. And you know, whether it's, you know, guys taking accountable for each other, guys holding guys accountable with each other, it's just an amazing experience. And I thought it was necessary for this group going forward for us to get better as a unit.
I think Coach Billups' thing is attention to detail. He's one of the coaches who will really get on you for lack of concentration, lack of effort, and he's really good at that and making sure we stay focused, especially when we get tired.
Still, no matter how many sprints and push-ups the team does to develop their mental toughness, they understand they have to produce out on the court. With the expectations for the program to grow its success, the passes have to be crisp, the shots have to be precise, and the defense has to be defiant.
Expectations are to win. Obviously, we want to win the Summit League straight up, and then we want to win the Summit League tournament and go to the NCAA tournament, which is something that's never been done in school history. So that's the goal.
Practice is for coaches. Coaches can prepare and get all the energy and the fire out in practice, but then when you see the fans here and you smell the popcorn cooking, it's a different feeling, man. I'm really excited. I can't wait to get back there in Magnus Arena and have some fun and compete to win.
Well, Denver opened the season at home on Saturday, taking on Jacksonville, coached by former Fort Wayne head coach Tony Jasick and Rodney Billups' brother Chauncey Billups in the building for this one. Denver has all of these guys back that were all freshmen last year. Jake Pemberton is one of them, 3 of his 6 points. Thomas Neff with 3 of his 7 points. CJ Bobbitt with 3 of his 12. Denver makes 12 of 25 threes in this game. Joe Rozga was unconscious and on fire at the same time. 3, and then 3, and 3 more for Rozga. 9 of 14 on threes for Rozga on his way to 30 points. But J.R. Holder with 30 of his own for Jacksonville, and the Dolphins beat Denver in the Rodney Billups debut 92-84. And in Fort Wayne, the Dons are the media and the coaches picked to win the regular season in the Summit League this year. Fort Wayne hosting Kenyon College of Ohio, a Division III school. Mo Evans with 28 for Fort Wayne in his first game back. John Conchar led the league in rebounding last year as a redshirt freshman. 8 boards and 11 points for Conchar. Bryson Scott is a transfer from Purdue in the starting lineup this year for IPFW. 17 points in 18 minutes for Bryson Scott. And Fort Wayne rolls out of the gate with a 57-point win over Kenyon. We finish up with women's hoops next. League favorite South Dakota State starting out with a good W at home against Creighton.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn.
Welcome back. Women's basketball season getting going over the weekend. Here is a sample of some of the early season action. Fort Wayne opening up at home on Friday night against Belmont University out of Nashville, Tennessee. And a slow start for the Dons with just 20 points in the first half of the game. Senior Selena Lozada leads Fort Wayne with 12 points and 6 rebounds. Junior Kashira McCarver off the bench with 12 points as well. But all 5 starters in double digits for Belmont, and the Bruins spoil the opener for Fort Wayne. But the Dons get another shot on Saturday night, hosting Defiance College, a Division III school in Ohio. Fort Wayne guard DeJour Young, 13 points and 3 assists. Lindley Kistler a freshman from Homestead High School in Fort Wayne, a team-high 14 points off the bench for Kistler. And the Dons get their first win by turning back Defiance. In Denver's season debut at home on Friday night against Air Force. And the Pioneers build a 1-point lead at the half, and then they blow it open in the third quarter. 14 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists for Denver senior Jacqueline Poss. 18 points, 4 steals for sophomore Samantha Romanowski. And the Denver defense holds Air Force to 29% shooting. Denver with a 13-point win. Summit League favorite South Dakota State getting it going at home on Friday night against Creighton. And SDSU, by the way, the number 1 team in the first mid-major poll of the season. SDSU senior guard Carrie Young leads the Jackrabbits with 17 points. Clarissa Ober inside 11 points, 10 rebounds, 5 block shots. And Macy Miller with 13 points and 5 assists. SDSU leads by 16 at the end of 3 quarters and hangs on to beat Creighton by 7. And South Dakota coming off the NIT championship last season, taking on Southern Illinois Edwardsville at the Pentagon in Sioux Falls, and 2 young players leading the Coyotes. True freshman Kira Duffy, 19 points and 6 rebounds for USD. Sophomore guard Allison Arns, 28 points and 7 boards. And South Dakota beats SIUE 75-68. The Western Illinois women are home this Saturday against Northern Illinois. That game is going to be on ESPN3. The volleyball championships, remember, in Denver this weekend, Friday through Sunday. You can watch those on the Summit League website at thesummitleague.org. And Denver men's soccer playing on Sunday in the NCAA tournament. We will see you next week.